The Elgin Police Department is dedicated to working in partnership with the community to promote safety and enhance the quality of life by serving with professionalism, encouraging open communication, and embracing diversity.
Engaged.
Partnering with our citizens and involved in our community.
Progressive.
Embracing innovative strategies while maintaining proven practices.
Dedicated.
Serving with integrity and professionalism. Elgin became an incorporated city in 1854 and installed its first police marshal, George W. Renwick. Over the years, the title of the head law enforcement officer changed from marshal to chief. And although the role has expanded, one duty has remained consistent: to ensure law and order for the citizens of Elgin.
It's time now for Fridays with the Finest, featuring Elgin's current police chief, Ana Lalley, on Elgin's hometown radio station since 1949, WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Connor.
Good morning. We are here, beautiful Friday. And it's Fridays with the Finest. We have Chief Ana Lalley here in the studio, along with two detectives, Houghton and Vartanian. Is that right? All right, beautiful. But, Chief, you've had a heck of a week. What a week you folks have had, huh?
Amazing week, yeah. I mean, we can kind of just jump right into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
go right ahead, hit it.
Yeah.
This is your show. I'm just here running the board.
All right, we appreciate that. Good morning, everyone, and what a week. I will tell you that weeks like this don't really happen in police work. This is kind of like probably a once in a lifetime, once in a career, and it's just been absolutely amazing. So I'm going to kind of just high level what has happened over the past couple of days, and I want to publicly say some thank yous too. I put a statement out yesterday on social media, but I also want to publicly say this, and then I'm going to just really give it to Andrew and Matt, the superstars. I mean, this is all them, and so I want to be able to, let them speak, and we're not going to take any questions. So if people call in, I would just ask that over this next week, if you have any questions, just call into the radio station, and maybe someone here can get a list of questions, and we'll make sure over the next couple of weeks to answer. I really want to give them their time to say what they feel and what they want to get out, and I think it's important that we do that. So first let me start off by saying, and I kind of said this in my statement yesterday too, but really my appreciation for the Schepers family. We met with the family. I met with them over the past 2 days. I know Andrew and Matt have met with them several times. Thank you for allowing us to reopen this case, and thank you for trusting in us. It is, I think people don't realize unless you're actually, talking to the family and the importance of what happened this week. And it's a privilege and an honor for the Elgin Police Department to be able to do this for a family. We've been on this show many times talking about why the cold case unit, why did we start it? And it's very simple: to give the family a semblance of closure. I'm very well aware that closure comes in many different ways. And, I think that's just a word that we use to say that the answer to their question for this particular thing has been answered. We know where she is. So, when we use that word closure, I want to be very mindful. I don't know what's in their heads or in their hearts, and only they know when they come to that point. But I will tell you just, it's very important just to give the family a sense of peace. And, I hope that what we were able to do for them, and it was just amazing, opportunity. We just decided to do something, and that's something I also want to say is that, I know there's been a lot of chatter about, why 40 years and why didn't they do this sooner? And I'm more than happy to answer all those questions and really get into the details of that, but not today. And, and probably not for the next couple of weeks, because the priority here, and I hope everybody just kind of keeps the focus on the Schepers family, an opportunity for them to process, an opportunity in private, privately and give them that space and that time. This is an extraordinary thing that happened over this past week that I think they probably never thought was going to happen. So, in the next couple of weeks here, when things have kind of, tempered a little bit, I am more than happy to come on with the detectives and we can go really into some details about that kind of stuff. We're all for answering questions. We're very open, very transparent. We have been posting all week about things, including the incident with the fire department. We were very upfront about that, and I want to, say publicly to Fire Chief Rob Sagan. I've known Rob for a very long time, and he is beyond a professional. And Elgin is very lucky to have him as a fire chief. I understand the magnitude of when your organization, because it does fall on you as the leader of that organization, and the amount of angst that does cause because you care. But he handled it like a true professional. The Elgin Fire Department is one of the best. And so I would ask that a lot of people don't hyper-focus on that. If we all could go back and do our lives differently, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? But that's not what life is, right? Life are those, just unknown moments that at the end of your life you think, saying, wow, even this, we were truly able to do something to help a family.
And even good came from that situation with
Yes.
the fire department.
Yes.
They were able to correct their protocol a little bit.
Yes.
And how about that chief? I mean, really, he is
Yes,
tops. He's
he
tops
is.
with us here at this station because he saw the situation and like I said, very easily could have tried to blame it on somebody else or whatever.
Nope.
There's not even blame.
Nope.
The end result would be no different, with no disrespect
And all
to
the
the
guys,
family.
all the guys we worked with prepping for this search, conducting the search, logistics for the search, that were out there diving with us, that were out there helping us identify the best places for this group to put their boat in the water, where we need to be. All those different things were just fantastic. So
Yeah.
our experience with the fire department through this whole process has been
It just
awesome.
speaks volumes to the department and to the city of Elgin, really, that he was able to speak to you, Chief, like
Oh,
he
yeah,
did. So I know your relationship is
We have
strong.
a great relationship, and Rob and I have dealt through and gone through a lot of different things. The police department is usually always in the spotlight,
Sure.
and so I think that's the first time where he kind of had just a little bit of like, wow, like, and I said, yeah, I mean, we're going to do it. We'll get through it together, and I truly appreciate him, a true professional, and so I would really, really hope that because I have seen some comments, on Facebook, and the fire department, this, that. It's like. And I will say this, we are here today to say that, Karen is home because we chose to do something. And we could have sat and did nothing, and it would have been 43 years, 44 years, 50 years, 60 years. So I think, the positive and the, just keeping a very optimistic view, for us, as, Andrew and Matt have a lot of things going on. They need some time, too, to process. So I'm going to leave them alone for like a month here. And I've kind of already said a little bit of like, on to the next, you guys, right? Because we're going to, but they, and to them, unbelievable work, you guys, just unbelievable. We started a cold case unit in May of 2024. They picked this case up in October of 2024. I can remember sitting around the table with the MID detectives and going through our policy and how are we going to do this cold case unit, and picking the right two people, right? The people that have the skills, the knowledge, and the talent, which is one part of police work, right? You have to be very good at what you do and you have to be smart. But the other side that a lot of people forget about, that's even more valuable, is to be able to see the bigger picture and to have that sense of empathy and purpose and determination to know that what we're doing one day will matter, right? Don't get caught up in the minutia of the everyday nonsense. Every day there's something. Someone's mad about this, something's going on. Great. The bigger picture, and especially, in a circumstance like this, is what an opportunity. And every day as police officers, we have an opportunity to do something for someone and make their life better. Very few people in life have that opportunity, and we get it every day, but never at this magnitude, right? Never at this extreme. And I think, to not acknowledge that and to think about what unbelievable work you guys did, and that, you truly gave something to a family that no one could and no one did for a very long time. So I also want to really, I want to do some public thank yous, and I'm going to kick it over to them. I also want to thank the department's evidence response team, our drone team, our major investigations divisions, the Lieutenant Mike Martino, Sergeant Brad Duffy, Sergeant Jim Rapp, who were really kind of the lead here, Commander Heather Lencioni, who's over our investigations division. Just when something like this happens, and there's I'm handling the media, the community, doing all this other stuff, and then they're doing kind of the the work, so everybody played a role and everybody came together. So thank you guys for just an amazing, exceptional, very, very proud of the department. And then, I really want to thank Chaos Divers. And I mean, I know Matt and Andrew are going to talk a little bit about them, but what professionals, true professionals, they were on board with us. We're going to solve this case. Every time I would talk to these guys, we're going to solve it. We're going to solve it. And that momentum and that optimism and them believing in it. And then they came along with us, the divers. They just met us, and they're kind of, I think a little shocked of like kind of how we are as a police department. But they were on board from day one. Thank you for your professionalism. Thank you for, doing what we needed to do respectfully, and, to bring her home. And then, I also want to thank publicly. So let me get through the list here, because I don't want to miss this opportunity. So the Chaos Divers, which is Jacob Grubbs, Lindsay Busick, and Mike McFerrin. We talked about the fire department. Thank you guys for what you do. Kane County Coroner Monica Silva and her staff, they were on board with us. They were there the day that we did recover the remains. True professionals, so thank you. Kane County Sheriff's Department for, allowing some, I think, they gave us some technical assistance in the background. WRMN, you guys, Dean, right?
Well.
You, Dean, Mark, Sonar, all these guys, right? The podcast. And, it was very important to me to acknowledge where that started,
And
right?
we certainly appreciate
Yes.
it. It was a privilege to be a part of this from the beginning, when this all started. So yeah, we just thank you for being involved with you on all
Yeah,
of
no,
this,
you
every
guys have
step of
been
the way.
awesome. And this is, the partnership, this is where it's kind of like, where you see where it kind of comes to fruition. So thank you guys. Retired Elgin police officer Mike Goff. So, these guys can talk a little bit about him and what he did. Retired Mount Prospect Detective Mike Nelson, Redmond's Towing, the Gale Borden Library, the Abraham Lincoln Library in Springfield, Sidwell Corporation, everyone that was on the podcast, including Karen's close friends, Denise, Heidi, and Eloise, Frank, the owner from PM Bentley's, the bar, and, the media who gave us coverage, and then, obviously, the Elgin community. We truly love you guys, and thank you for coming around us and supporting us, and all I would ask right now, most importantly, is come around the Schepers family and let's show them the care and love and support that they truly need. And let's do what Elgin does best, right? Let's show how different we are and how we can care about people and come together even in spite of differences. But thank you to the Elgin community and beyond, right? The podcast reached so many people. So thank you guys for being involved, engaged, and listening. So that's kind of what I wanted to say in terms of the thanks and kind of what happened this week. And then, Andrew and Matt, it's all you.
You want to talk first? Or?
Sure.
You guys
Now they're
gotta hit
shy.
it.
Now they're shy.
And before they do it, I mean, I rushed when they walked in. I couldn't wait to shake the hands of not only the chief, but the two detectives, because you have all, chief especially, you had your list of thank yous, and I read them on all of your posts, and that's really nice, your acknowledgement. But the dignity that you did this investigation and the dignity you left for the family, there was no exploitation. Nobody was there in any negative way. And I really applaud everybody for that. I mean, really, Elgin,
Hey, there you go.
Elgin Police Department, Elgin Fire, all of Elgin. This is the 6th largest city in the state of Illinois. And you have the top professionals here, and it's proof in the pudding. The name couldn't be any better. Somebody knows something. And it's always funny. Somebody always does like the little, Monday night quarterbackers that want to say, well, we saw that car over here before. Well, we knew about this. Well, then why didn't you say something? But you're always going to have that. Let's focus on the positivity. Let's focus on what you guys have done, and take it away, guys. An outstanding, wonderful job.
Yeah, thank you. I'll start by I just want to thank Karen's family. That's the most important thing here. I mean, them just willing to put their trust in us to reopen the case and just go back down the road of trying to find out what happened to her and where she is and where her car was. I'll just say this about the family. We've had several meetings with them, obviously this week, and something came to mind when we went out there and we told them that the remains were hers. We wanted to, every time we talked to them, every step of the way this week, when it was the car, when there were remains in the car, and then when it was officially confirmed that the remains were Karen's, we went out there and we met with Karen's mom and her sister and her brother. And they asked us how we were doing during the whole thing. And that's really what is striking to me, is that is the quality of people that they are. I can't imagine what they've been going through for the last 42 years, with dealing with not knowing what happened to her. And while this is all going on, they had the time to actually ask us how we're doing with that. And I was just blown away by that, and I still am. I mean, I think this week for us, it's still a bit of a state of shock that everything went down how it did. Everybody that's a part of this case, Chaos Divers, Karen's family, Andrew and I, the police department, everybody else that was involved, we're kind of forever linked with this case now. It's still just shocking with how
But
it happened.
importantly, your people too.
Yeah.
And the fact that Karen's family recognized that, there's an emotional part, I'm sure, in each
Oh, yeah.
one of you. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. I mean, I get, even just remembering different things from my past in cases and that, I get teary-eyed when I found that you were able to determine
Yeah.
that was her remains. How beautiful. But there's an emotional side that people don't realize that the department goes through.
Yeah. I mean, especially, our main contacts have been her mom, Liz, her brother, Gary, her brother, Dale, her sister, Susan. But, she has other family members, Ron, Lori, Scott, Mike, Andy. They're all over the place. They have family all over the country. So our hearts just go out to all of them. I mean, we have not been able to meet all of them in person because of just where they are. Heidi, who we talked to, Karen was going to be in her wedding. Denise, who was her very close friend. Eloise, who worked with her. They were constantly calling and texting with us. We were in constant communication with them over the last 6 months. And it's just been, I can't even express just how impactful they've been for us, and been the same with them. Like, they're asking how we're doing, making sure that we're doing okay. Like, we didn't know Karen, like they did. So just everyone's just been fantastic. I just
But you
can't say
do
enough
now.
about I just can't say enough about everyone that we've dealt with throughout the process. And then all the people that were willing to come on and give us information, on the podcast, or meet with us, or the tips we got, the calls we got, the texts we got, the emails we got. It was just an outpouring of different information from people. So
Yeah,
we just really appreciate it.
when we started the podcast, we never wanted it to take away from what the goal was. And the goal was to find answers and get information about where is Karen at and what happened to her. And so our goal as detectives, we wanted to be genuine. We wanted to be authentic. We didn't want any of that to be taken away from what's the goal here, right? So we really sincerely appreciate everybody that has provided tips, that has listened to our podcast, that has come forward with information, that has given us guidance, because we had no experience with this whatsoever. So we truly are thankful for everybody that has supported us in that role. But the bottom line is, we never wanted to have the podcast take away from finding out what happened to Karen. And I'm just very, very thankful to just truly be a part of this and be able to use the podcast as the vehicle to get the answers for the family, and then, ultimately to bring her home.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, like, as we went into this, the first time we met with the family, we were very cognizant of the fact that we're asking them to go through this again. We're asking them to talk about this again.
Yeah.
Like, all these people, I'm sure, were thinking about Karen on a regular basis, but now we're talking about it all the time with them.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine how difficult that was for them. So we really appreciate them doing that. We really also have not talked about, Terry Schultz and his family. That was very calculated on our part, because we did not want to go stir up things for that family, because he also, was victimized by the fact that Karen died, and he had friends within the family. He had other friends that knew Karen. He has family on his side that knew Karen. We intentionally did not want to go and reach out to them and deal with anything with them until we knew that we had done all these other searches, because I would have hated to have gone out and really stirred up all this emotional stuff for them as well, and then had the result where we find her like we did and not needed to do that. So that's why, if anyone in the family is listening or feels like we didn't reach out to you initially, we did that intentionally, because we didn't want to drag you through what the Schepers family had to go through, because they had to talk about what was going on for us to do this. We didn't want to do that unless we absolutely had to. So luckily, now that we've found Karen, it's not something that is going to be something that we have to do. And we didn't want to have to do that in the first place. So that's why we
And I think the important thing to that, so that people know, and Andrew and Matt can talk a little bit about this later, but when we release information, so we've been asking, why this case? Why did we start with this case? And very simply, this was a missing person case. There's no forensic evidence, no physical evidence. We are able to provide more details to the community and to the public because of time, but also because it's a missing person case. But when we create this podcast, there's a process behind the scenes, right? They do the podcast, they record it, I'm listening to it, we're working with our legal department. We had some conversations about we got to take that out because exactly what Andrew said, right? You have to be very mindful because you don't want to, put people in a mindset of we're accusing this person or they're not locking in or locking out any theory. So that kind of technical stuff that happens in the background was done very deliberately, right? Most of the podcasts that I listen to, I'm like, good to go, good to go. And there were a couple where I said, no, we got to pull back a little bit here because, if somebody's listening to this, they're going to say, right? So, that kind of communication and then you making sure what we're putting out is appropriate, right? I mean, people talk off the cuff all the time, right? Like, which you can if someone's not going to come back and say, you said this about me and you're a police department and now I'm going to, right? So that's a great point that, that Andrew is saying that they thought about this very, strategically and deliberately and very mindful to be respectful of everybody's family and everyone that was involved in this.
And like you said, too, we obviously don't want to be exploitative. Like we did not want to give out information that was going to be sensationalized, things like that. We wanted to give out information that we thought would be useful for us in the investigation. But the big point in this podcast was to be about Karen, not about us, not about like trying to make money or like trying to do something super sensational that make people, their jaw drop or something like that. We didn't want to have some sort of, titles or things that were like sensationalized or anything like that. It was just, we wanted to be very factual, but we still wanted it to be, entertaining for people to listen to, I guess is maybe entertaining is not the right word, but something that's engaging for people to listen to without it being exploitative of the family or exploitative of Karen or exploitative of other people in the community.
And from airing the podcast, were you able to get more phone calls than you had imagined you were
Yes.
going to get?
Yeah, we received several tips and information that helped us to figure out things that we never knew before. An example is Susanna and everything that happened with the vehicle and the beaver squeezer letter. That was stuff that we never knew about. We never knew that there was a carnival that was going on the night that Karen went missing.
And how about timing with that letter? What's the chances they're moving that day and you were able to roll up and get a copy of that letter?
Yeah.
I mean, the stars just lined up.
Yeah, I mean,
thanks to your hard work, both of you.
That's the thing about it is the shock of it all still, of like how everything came together. I mean, from our perspective, so obviously Monday was the start of everything, right? We went out on the water with Chaos Divers, and I just want to take a minute to thank you guys, Chaos Divers. You guys are awesome. And you guys know that. We've talked about that this week, but truly, like, you guys are amazing people, and we cannot say enough about how supportive you guys are and how in line with us you guys were and just understood what the goal was. And anybody that's out there that, if you need somebody that, if you need a company out there, they are the ones. They are the ones that can search the water for you. They are just top notch.
And if you guys want to talk about retired officer Mike Goff.
Yeah.
really
And Mike,
quick.
I mean, Mike, you are awesome, man.
Yeah,
You-
the way we found Chaos Divers was through a retired officer from here in Elgin.
Oh, excellent.
So his name's
Yeah.
Mike Goff. He was a detective here. He was an evidence technician when I was here. I worked a number of crime scenes with him, homicide crime scenes, stuff like that. He was a really great evidence
He was an
technician.
FTO for me for a little bit.
And Mike's just a great guy, and he retired a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Now, but
Maybe 10 years?
he had reached out and said, hey, I know there's these different groups that will do this for underwater sonar, recovery, things like that. Let me get you in touch with them. So he got us in touch with them. And then when they came up here, he actually helped host where they were going to stay. He helped them get equipment for them. So he was instrumental in helping us locate this resource. Like we may not have had this resource as quickly as we did without him. And I know we've talked with the family about this. Obviously, finding Karen's car was one step, but the goal was to find Karen's remains.
Yep.
Exactly.
100%, if we did not have this company helping us, I don't believe we would have had the knowledge to get the vehicle out in a way that allowed us to recover her remains as effectively as we did. I mean, we can share, like, we recovered the tassel from her class of 1977 Sycamore High School from her car that we were able to give to the family. We recovered a sapphire birthstone ring that she wore every day that we were able to give to her mother yesterday. We would not have been able to do that without their expertise in helping us, along with Redmond's Towing, who were great as well, and the fire department, getting that vehicle, not only locating it, but getting it out, and then getting it out in a way that allowed us to get as much information that we could, not only for our investigation, but for the family, and to be respectful of Karen's remains.
And a lot of people had asked the question, what's taking so long? They know where the vehicle is. Why don't they just pull it up and take it out?
Yeah,
And you try to explain the way
The
you
fear
would
is that
wash
you
stuff
basically
out.
tear the car apart
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
lose the contents.
I mean, they just so kind of put this into perspective for people. The way that that car was found and how it was found, and for us to be able to recover not, most importantly her remains, but then those mementos that they were able to give, her mom.
Right.
That does not happen. This is everything. I truly believe everything in life happens for a reason. People are put in certain positions for a reason. Those reasons don't reveal themselves while it's happening. But I think that, there's a little bit of, call it divine intervention, karma, whatever you believe in, whatever your faith is. But I am telling you, this does not happen. This is beyond, on Monday when we were at the command post, I left, I had to go teach a night class at ECC, and they had just found another car. And, I was there pretty much all day. And, Commander Lencioni calls me and she said, we have a license plate. And I was like, oh my God, like you don't even realize it, like how, and then to get the car the way it was
Yes.
for 42 years. So there's something going on in the universe
Yeah,
where
sure
this was meant to happen.
We had
yes.
So just to kind of take people, from our perspective on how Monday went down, we started early, we pushed north, that area around Slade. We initially had been in that area and found those other two cars. And the first car that we had found, we thought there were some similarities with Karen's car, so we were pretty excited about it. And then we ruled it out, and then we continued to go north, and we discovered that the river got really shallow north of I-90. So I would say that we were cautiously optimistic that we would find the car. We obviously were very hopeful that that would happen. We always knew that that was something that we wanted to do as a theory, that she went into a body of water. We didn't know if it was the river, if it was something else along one of those routes.
We had Max McGraw property, and I do have to say that Max McGraw Wildlife Foundation let us come on their property, search through a bunch of things. They had given us consent to go there if we needed to, and we were prepping to do that for our second day. Palumbo's Trucking Company, Plody Construction, Santa's Village, all those different organizations were more than happy to meet with us, let us assess their water. That we went out and looked at the sites we thought we wanted to possibly look at. They gave us consent to go on there, so they were all great in terms of letting us do that. We didn't end up needing to expand that far, but Chaos Divers went from the Elgin Dam all the way up to basically Williams Place, which is just south of 72. It's about 5 nautical miles north, so it was 5 miles up, 5 miles back, and they scanned the entire river. So we were out there for something like 8 hours doing that with them.
Yeah.
When we finally did find Karen's car, it was very much the end of the night.
Yeah, I mean,
There
we
was
were
a large
going to
amount
be
of-
done. Yeah.
There was a large amount of debris on top of the car. Like people have talked about, maybe seen things on social media and things like that. The diver, Mike McFerrin, had to remove some logs and different tree debris from the top of the car. The highest point of the car was still 4.5 feet or so underwater.
Right.
And the visibility is about 6 inches.
Yeah.
So he dove down and had to remove debris off the top of the car before we could extract it. And Mike, I can't say enough about him either.
Yeah.
I mean, he dove the first 2 cars, which basically when you got down there, he would touch them, they would just crumble. There was no intact car there, but we were getting pieces like headlights or like different pieces of debris for the first 2 vehicles. And then he dove this last car for us. And when he came up with the license plate, I can't describe.
What a chill had to go down your spine.
What they handed us a license plate. He started saying it as he's swimming over to the boat, and we saw it from the back of the boat. It was upside down and backwards, and Matt and I are like, that looks like an X and a P, and we're like trying to get to
Yeah,
the front of the
we
boat.
knew the plate. We had it memorized.
Sure.
And he pulled it up and he's read it to us, and we just I can't describe like the amount of shock you're kind of in.
Yeah.
And then I think we both just went into like, okay, now here's the next 10 things
Yeah,
we have to start
yeah.
doing. We're calling the plate out. We're like, okay, we need to get a tow company. We can't get this out tonight. We need to notify the family, all those things. Mike also went back in the water again after we pulled the car out on Tuesday, because as we're pulling the car out, mud and debris were kind of coming out of the car. He went back and got all of his stuff back on, got back in the water, searched the whole area that we had taken the car out to make sure we didn't miss anything that came out underneath the water when we were getting the car out. So, again, Chaos Divers, the fire department at Redmond's Towing, like, they deserve all the credit for getting this car out the way it did.
Yeah, they wanted to research that area before we pulled the boat in. it's the end of the day, you're tired and everything else.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things where you're like, I'm very glad that they redid what they did. They wanted to make sure, hey, let's just double check this area. And truly, like, that's what happened. They come up with the plate and we're like, all right, was the plate actually off the car? Like, I was joking around with Mike, the diver, I'm like, you didn't pull it off the bottom of the riverbed, right?
It's so unbelievable. I mean, you can't even imagine. But I know we have a minute left here. So I know Andrew and Matt will be here next week on Wednesday.
Yep.
And then probably I'll bring you guys back on Friday next week too, because I know there's a lot to talk about, and then over this next week with questions. So again, thank you to everyone. Most importantly, thank you to you guys. Please, everyone, let's be mindful of the Schepers family and the things that they're kind of working through. And let's show our care and support. And
A big win for the city.
and
How
yeah,
about it?
so thank you guys.
Yeah.
The police department, and really can't thank you enough for everything that you folks have done. But you're listening to WRMN 1410, Fridays with the Finest, two great detectives, Detective Houghton and Vartanian.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.